On October 25, 1944, dawn broke east of Samar in the Philippines, where squalls draped the horizon in a grey veil, partially obscuring the silhouettes of Japanese pagoda masts piercing the morning haze. Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force, comprising 4 battleships, including the formidable Yamato, 6 heavy cruisers, 2 light cruisers, and 11 destroyers, surged through the Philippine Sea, intent on crushing the American invasion at Leyte. Yamato alone mounted 9 18-inch guns, capable of hurling shells 27 miles, a range that dwarfed anything in the U.S. force. Task Unit 77.4.3, known as Taffy 3, under Rear Admiral Clifton A. F. Sprague, stood in their path 6 escort carriers, Fanshawe Bay, Gambier Bay, Kalinin Bay, Kitkun Bay Street, low and white planes supported by 3 destroyers, USS Johnston, USS Hoel, and USS Heermann, and 4 destroyer escorts, USS Samuel B. Roberts, USS Raymond, USS Dennis, and USS John C. Butler. These carriers, designed for anti-submarine patrols, carried 5-inch guns with a range of 9 miles and steamed at a maximum of 18 knots, a speed dwarfed by Kurita's 28-knot battleships and cruisers. The number that matters is 18 knots. Taffy 3's carriers could not outrun the Japanese force bearing down on them. At 6:45, Japanese lookouts aboard the heavy cruiser Tone spotted the low profiles of Taffy 3's carriers, their flat tops barely distinguishable through the squalls. Battleships, Yamato, Nagato, Kongō, and Haruna, opened fire their massive salvos, sending geysers of water erupting within 5 miles of Fanshawe Bay, Sprague's flagship. The shells, some weighing over 3,000 pounds, churned the sea, their splashes marking the precision of Japanese optical fire control, even in poor weather. Sprague aboard Fanshawe Bay assessed the dire situation. His carriers, lightly armoured and built for support, could neither outfight nor outrun the enemy. The Leyte anchorage, where American troops and supplies sustained the invasion, lay vulnerable if Kurita broke through. Sprague issued immediate orders over the radio: generate continuous smoke screens, execute a hard turn southeast, and launch every available aircraft regardless of armament. Pilots scrambled to their FM-2 Wildcats and TBM Avengers, some loaded with bombs, others with depth charges, or only machine gun ammunition taking off from rolling decks into a sky streaked with rain. Commander Ernest E. Evans aboard the destroyer, USS Johnston, acted without hesitation. Johnston, a Fletcher-class destroyer mounting 5 5-inch guns and 10 torpedo tubes, broke from the carrier screen, accelerating to 30 knots toward the Japanese line. Evans, aware of the odds, drove his ship through curtains of smoke and shell, splashes his 5-inch guns firing at heavy cruiser Kumano, 7,000 yards distant. The destroyer's torpedoes, with a range of 10,000 yards at 40 knots, streaked toward their target, forcing Kumano to veer sharply, her bow damaged by a hit that slowed her advance. Japanese gunners trained for fleet engagements shifted fire to Johnston, their 14-inch and 8-inch shells tearing through the sea around her. The number that matters is 18 knots. Taffy 3's carriers relied on destroyers to buy time against a faster enemy. Following Johnston's lead, USS Hoel under Commander Leon S. Kintberger charged toward battleship Kongō, launching torpedoes at 8,000 yards. Hoel's 5-inch guns, firing at a rate of 15 rounds per minute, peppered the battleship's superstructure, forcing her to maneuver and disrupting her gunnery. USS Heermann, commanded by Amos T. Hathaway, joined the counterattack, weaving through squalls to fire torpedoes at heavy cruiser Haguro while laying a thick smoke screen to obscure the carriers. The destroyer escorts Samuel B. Roberts, Raymond, Dennis, and John C. Butler followed suit, their 3-inch guns engaging Japanese destroyers at 4,000 yards, their engines straining at 28 knots to close the range. The constraint was time every minute. Kurita's force advanced, the carrier's margin for escape narrowed, and the Leyte anchorage faced greater peril. Taffy 3's air groups, launching from decks pitching in heavy seas, climbed to 12,000 feet, their Wildcats and Avengers diving through anti-aircraft fire to strike the Japanese line. Pilots from Kalinin Bay targeted heavy cruiser Chokai, dropping 500-pound bombs and depth charges at 500 feet, their strafing runs raking enemy decks. The smoke screens, generated by chemical canisters and funnel exhaust, curled thickly across the sea, blending with rain squalls to frustrate Japanese fire control. From the bridge of Yamato, Kurita's officers cursed the obscured targets, their radar ineffective against the low-lying carriers veiled by smoke. Johnston's torpedo hit on Kumano, combined with Hoel and Heermann's runs, forced the Japanese column to fracture with cruisers and battleships, turning to avoid collisions. The carriers, steaming southeast at 18 knots, gained precious distance, their survival hinging on the destroyer's audacity and the aircraft's relentless pressure. The tactical chaos, smoke torpedoes and diving planes disrupted Kurita's plan for a decisive surface victory, setting the stage for a prolonged and desperate fight. Shells from Yamato and Nagato tore through the morning haze, their 14-inch and 16-inch projectiles landing within 3,000 yards of Taffy 3's escort carriers, which steamed southeast at 18 knots. Rear Admiral Clifton A. F. Sprague's voice cut through the radio, calm but urgent: maintain smoke screens, execute evasive zigzags, and keep aircraft striking. USS Johnston, under Commander Ernest E. Evans pressed its attack, her 5-inch guns with a 9-mile range firing at heavy cruiser Chokai 6,000 yards away. Johnston's 10 torpedoes launched at 10,000 yards, forced Chokai to turn, sharply disrupting her 8-inch gunfire. Japanese shells struck Johnston, shredding her bridge and port engine, yet her crew kept 3 guns firing, their rate sustained at 15 rounds per minute. USS Hoel, led by Commander Leon S. Kintberger, targeted battleship Kongō, launching 7 torpedoes at 8,000 yards, compelling the battleship to veer and break her firing solution. USS Heermann, under Commander Amos T. Hathaway, wove between shell splashes, firing 5-inch salvos at cruiser Haguro and laying smoke to shield Kalinin Bay. The number that matters is 9 miles. Johnston's guns reached their limit against battleships' heavier armament. Destroyer escorts joined the fray, their engines pushed to 28 knots despite strain. USS Samuel B. Roberts, under Lieutenant Commander Robert W. Copeland, charged heavy cruiser Chikuma, her 3-inch guns, engaging at 5,000 yards, scoring hits on the cruiser's superstructure. Raymond Dennis and John C. Butler laid overlapping smoke screens, their chemical canisters cloaking the carriers in a haze that blended with squalls. Taffy 3's air groups, FM-2 Wildcats and TBM Avengers, climbed to 10,000 feet, diving to strafe and bomb at 500 feet. Pilots from Kitkun Bay dropped depth charges on cruiser Suzuya, triggering fires. The constraint was ordnance aircraft carried limited bombs, some only machine gun rounds. Japanese commanders aboard Yamato's bridge cursed the smoke, obscuring their targets. These carriers vanish in the haze. The relentless torpedo runs from Johnston, Hoel and Heermann, combined with air attacks, forced Kurita's ships to maneuver defensively, splitting their formation. Heavy cruiser Tone, struck by a bomb, slowed her fire control, disrupted. The carriers, zigzagging at 18 knots, gained distance, their smoke screens reducing Japanese gunnery accuracy to under 20%. Aircraft from Taffy 2, arriving by 7:30, added bombs, further confusing Kurita's line. Taffy 3's desperate improvisation, smoke torpedoes and airstrikes held the Japanese at bay, buying critical minutes. Through dense smoke and towering shell splashes, USS Johnston surged toward heavy cruiser. Tone, her 5-inch guns, firing at 7,000 yards each, salvo delivering 15 rounds per minute. Commander Ernest E. Evans, undaunted by mounting damage, drove his destroyer closer, launching a final torpedo salvo at 10,000 yards, forcing Tone to evade. Johnston's starboard engine faltered under 14-inch shell hits, yet her crew maintained gunfire, their rounds striking Tone's bridge. USS Hoel, under Commander Leon S. Kintberger, targeted battleship Haruna, firing 7 torpedoes at 8,000 yards, compelling the battleship to turn sharply, disrupting her 16-inch salvos. Hoel's hull shuddered from 8-inch cruiser shells, her decks burning, but her guns kept firing until ammunition ran low. USS Heermann, commanded by Amos T. Hathaway, threaded between Yamato and Nagato, launching torpedoes at 10,000 yards, then laying smoke to shield White Plains. USS Samuel B. Roberts, under Lieutenant Commander Robert W. Copeland, pushed her engines to 28 knots, engaging cruiser Chokai with 3-inch guns at 5,000 yards, her crew scoring hits before catastrophic damage silenced her. Engine overhaul required after 50 hours at full throttle. Taffy 3's carriers, steaming at 18 knots, relied on these sacrifices as their air groups pressed attacks. FM-2 Wildcats from Kalinin Bay strafed Japanese destroyers at 200 feet, while TBM Avengers dropped 500-pound bombs on Chikuma, igniting fires. Japanese gunners struggling through smoke and squalls cursed the relentless destroyers. These tin cans charge like battleships. The number that matters is 9 miles. The effective range of Johnston's guns against superior Japanese armament. Destroyer escorts Raymond, Dennis, and John C. Butler maintained smoke screens, their 3-inch guns, engaging enemy destroyers at 4,000 yards, protecting Street Low and Fanshawe Bay. The constraint was ammunition destroyers exhausted torpedoes within 60 minutes of first contact. Air groups from Taffy 2, joining by 8 o'clock, intensified pressure, their bombs targeting Kumano's turrets. The escort's audacious charges, though outgunned, disrupted Japanese cohesion, forcing Kurita's ships to maneuver defensively. Smoke and rain squalls degraded enemy fire control, allowing carriers to retreat southeast. Taffy 3's destroyers, bleeding speed and crew, bought time with their defiance, their actions a testament to tactical courage against overwhelming odds. Taffy 3's escort carriers, steaming southeast at 18 knots through squalls, fought to survive as Japanese shells bracketed their positions. Rear Admiral Clifton A. F. Sprague's orders held firm: keep smoke thick, evade and launch every aircraft. FM-2 Wildcats, with a range of 850 miles, climbed to 10,000 feet, diving to strafe Japanese cruisers at 200 feet, their 50 caliber machine guns raking decks. TBM Avengers from Fanshawe Bay and Kitkun Bay dropped 500-pound bombs and depth charges on heavy cruiser Suzuya near misses, sparking fires that triggered secondary explosions. USS Gambier Bay, struck by 8-inch shells from Chikuma at 12,000 yards, burned fiercely, her 5-inch guns firing until her magazines flooded. USS Johnston, though crippled, supported air attacks, her remaining 5-inch guns shelling Chokai at 6,000 yards, disabling a turret. USS Heermann, under Commander Amos T. Hathaway, laid smoke to shield White Plains, her torpedoes, narrowly missing Haguro. USS Samuel B. Roberts, now sinking, fired her last 3-inch rounds at 5,000 yards, her crew spent. The number that matters is 850 miles. Wildcats' range enabled multiple sorties. Destroyer escorts Raymond, Dennis, and John C. Butler sustained smoke screens, their 3-inch guns engaging Japanese destroyers at 4,000 yards, protecting Kalinin Bay. Japanese lookouts peering through haze cursed the relentless aircraft. These planes swarm like hornets. The constraint was ordnance, many Avengers out of bombs, strafed with machine guns or returned to rearm. Taffy 2's air groups, arriving by 8 o'clock, struck Kumano, their bombs damaging her bridge. USS Hoel, under Commander Leon S. Kintberger, sank after absorbing over 20 hits her final torpedo run, forcing Kongō to turn. Smoke screens, blending with rain squalls, reduced Japanese gunnery accuracy to under 20%, their optical sights struggling against obscured targets. Johnston's crew, despite heavy losses, kept her guns firing until she rolled under waves. The synergy of airstrikes, destroyer, torpedo runs, and smoke tactics fractured Kurita's formation, with Chokai dead in the water, later scuttled by her crew. Taffy 3's combined arms, aircraft diving low, destroyers charging escorts, screening maintained relentless pressure, forcing Kurita's ships to scatter and lose cohesion, preserving the carrier's slim chance of escape. By 9 o'clock, Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force, battered by torpedoes and airstrikes, faltered east of Samar. Yamato's 18-inch guns, firing at 20 miles, struggled to track Taffy 3's carriers through smoke and squalls. Heavy cruiser Chikuma, hit by TBM Avenger bombs at 800 feet, burned uncontrollably, her crew abandoning ship as fires reached her magazines. Suzuya, rocked by near misses from Kitkun Bay's aircraft, succumbed to internal explosions, sinking by 10 o'clock. USS Johnston, under Commander Ernest E. Evans sank after relentless shelling from battleships and cruisers, her 5-inch guns silent after firing 900 rounds. USS Hoel, led by Commander Leon S. Kintberger, went down fighting her torpedo runs at 8,000 yards, forcing Kongō to maneuver. USS Samuel B. Roberts, under Lieutenant Commander Robert W. Copeland, sank after expending all ammunition, her 3-inch guns scoring hits on Chokai at 5,000 yards. Torpedoes reloaded after 30 minutes under ideal conditions. USS Heermann, battered but afloat, laid smoke at 18 knots shielding Fanshawe Bay. The number that matters is 18 knots. Taffy 3's carriers barely maintained distance from Kurita's faster ships. From Yamato's bridge, Kurita's officers cursed the chaos. These tin cans and planes disrupt our fire. Taffy 3's air groups, with Wildcats ranging 850 miles, maintained pressure, strafing and bombing Haguro and Tone. Taffy 2's aircraft, joining by 8:30, struck Kumano, damaging her propulsion. Smoke screens, sustained by destroyer escorts, Raymond, Dennis and John C. Butler, blended with squalls, reducing Japanese gunnery accuracy to under 20%. The constraint was visibility. Kurita's optical fire control failed against obscured targets. Torpedo runs from Johnston, Hoel and Heermann, combined with relentless air attacks, forced Kurita's ships to turn, repeatedly disrupting their advance. By 11 o'clock, Kurita, believing a larger U.S. force lurked nearby, signaled a withdrawal north and west, abandoning his mission to strike the Leyte anchorage. Taffy 3's carriers, steaming southeast, gained breathing room, their survival owed to the Escort's sacrifices and air group's persistence. The relentless defiance of destroyers and aircraft against a vastly superior force turned the tide, exposing Japanese overconfidence and preserving the invasion's lifeline. As Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force turned north by 11 o'clock, Taffy 3's survivors navigated debris-strewn waters east of Samar. USS Gambier Bay, overwhelmed by 8-inch shells from heavy cruiser Chikuma, at 12,000 yards sank by 9:30, leaving her crew clinging to life rafts amid oil-slicked seas. USS Street, low, struck at 10:50 by a kamikaze aircraft, diving at 300 knots, erupted in flames, her magazines detonating, sinking within 30 minutes. USS Johnston, under Commander Ernest E. Evans, lay broken, sunk, after absorbing over 30 hits from battleships and cruisers, her 5-inch guns firing until her deck submerged. USS Hoel, led by Commander Leon S. Kintberger, went down after 20 direct hits, her final torpedo run at 8,000 yards, disrupting Kongō's advance. USS Samuel B. Roberts, under Lieutenant Commander Robert W. Copeland, sank after expending all 3-inch ammunition, her crew's last stand, damaging Chokai. USS Heermann, under Commander Amos T. Hathaway, survived her 5-inch guns, expending 900 rounds, now assisting rescue efforts. Smoke generators operated continuously for 3 hours. The number that matters is 850 miles. Taffy 3's air groups, with this range, sustained relentless sorties. Japanese losses mounted heavy cruiser Chokai, disabled by bombs, and Johnston's gunfire was scuttled by 10 o'clock. Chikuma sank under air attack, her hull breached by TBM Avenger depth charges. Suzuya, crippled by near misses, exploded and sank by 11. Kumano, hit by bombs, limped away, her propulsion damaged. Taffy 3's surviving carriers, Fanshawe Bay, Kalinin Bay, Kitkun Bay and White Plains, sustained damage but steamed on their air groups, landing on Taffy 2's carriers or Leyte's makeshift strips. From Kurita's bridge, the unexpected resistance torpedo wakes smoke, and diving aircraft suggested a larger U.S. force, prompting his retreat. The constraint was manpower. Taffy 3's crews, exhausted after hours of combat, faced grueling rescue operations, pulling survivors from shark-infested waters. Rear Admiral Clifton A. F. Sprague's leadership, balancing evasion with counterattacks, preserved the Leyte anchorage, securing the invasion's supply lines. Taffy 3's air and surface synergy destroyers, charging escorts, screening aircraft, striking, exploited Japanese miscalculation, ensuring the beachhead's safety. The unit's collective sacrifice earned a Presidential Unit Citation, a testament to their stand against overwhelming odds. The Battle off Samar, fought on October 25, 1944, etched Taffy III's defiance into naval history, a stark lesson in courage against disparity. The Leyte anchorage, critical for General Douglas MacArthur's Philippine invasion, remained secure, its supply lines intact due to Taffy III's stand. Rear Admiral Clifton A. Sprague's Task Unit 6, escort carriers, 3 destroyers and 4 destroyer escorts faced Vice Admiral Takeo Kurita's center force with 4 battleships, 6 heavy cruisers and 11 destroyers. Commander Ernest E. Evans, killed aboard USS Johnston, earned the Medal of Honor posthumously for his unrelenting charge, his 5-inch guns firing 900 rounds at ranges as close as 6,000 yards. USS Hoel and USS Samuel B. Roberts sunk after expending all torpedoes and ammunition, disrupted Japanese formations with runs at 8,000 and 5,000 yards. USS Heermann, surviving with 900 rounds, fired shielded carriers with smoke at 18 knots. The number that matters is 850 miles. Taffy III's air groups, with this range, delivered relentless bombs and strafing crippling cruisers like Chokai and Chikuma. Smoke screens, sustained for 3 hours, blended with squalls, reducing Japanese gunnery accuracy to under 20%, their 18-inch and 8-inch shells, missing obscured targets. Taffy III's air groups, with FM-2 Wildcats and TBM Avengers, struck from 500 feet, their depth charges and bombs triggering Suzuya's fatal explosions. From Kurita's perspective, the ferocity of tin cans and aircraft suggested a larger U.S. force, prompting his withdrawal by noon. The constraint was scale 13 U.S. Ships faced 23 Japanese vessels, yet prevailed through tactical synergy. Destroyer torpedo run smoke tactics and airstrikes disrupted Kurita's plan to crush the anchorage, exposing the vulnerability of even Yamato's 18-inch guns to agile escorts. Naval analysts later dissected Samar for its lessons: torpedo employment at close-range smoke screen effectiveness and carrier escort coordination under extreme odds. Taffy III's actions, cited in naval doctrine, underscored how engineering precision destroyers' 30-knot dashes, aircraft's 850-mile range altered strategic outcomes. The battle remains a benchmark for small unit initiative, its legacy enduring as a canonical study of naval warfare's defining last stands.